Okay, no, I'm not selling my video game collection. But the thought does cross my mind. Usually it happens when I'm struggling with a game. Take my playthrough of Metaphor ReFantazio. There's gotta be a more effective use of my time, right? I'm mindlessly running through dungeons and mashing through text. Why am I wasting my own time? Is this supposed to be fun? I stopped having fun 30 hours ago. The thought also creeps up when I play something like The Night Witch. I know I'm not good at the bullet hell genre. I want to be good at it, but I'm not. So instead, I suffer. At the heart of the issue is simply not enjoying games like I used to. I guess that's misleading. I still sometimes enjoy games. I can still get downright addicted to them. In early 2024, I had a 2-month span where I only played retro-inspired modern platformers. I'm talking Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, Gravity Circuit. This was some of the most fun gaming that I could remember. And then Persona 3 Reload dropped. And then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I was riding high. And then I sank into a hole. After about 10 hours in Persona 3, I gave it up to mainline Rebirth. And I loved Rebirth. Until I didn't. Until it got repetitive. And open. But like too open. And too side questy. I'm sorry, but flying over water to catch balloons is not why I play Final Fantasy. And so it took me some months to finish Rebirth. It was a slog. So many missions. So much backtracking. And along the way I asked myself, Brandon, why don't you give up games? Why do you keep abusing yourself with the thing you call a hobby? And I'm not sure I fully understand. Why do I play games in the first place? I owe that to my uncle. Way back in 1996, he left me a Sega Genesis. He didn't die or anything. He was getting married, and I guess he wanted to put on a good impression for wifey. So there I was, 3 years old, and completely fascinated by Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic 2 was my first game, and I've been playing it ever since. Around that same time, my sister and I would sneak in rounds of Mortal Kombat 2 when our mom wasn't looking. When she was looking, we'd play Barbie Supermodel. I'd say those 3 games are as good an intro to video games as any that you could give a 3-year-old kid. I'd quickly latch on to playing whatever I could get my hands on. The story goes that when I was 5, my mom and grandma conspired to get me a PS1 and an N64 on the same Christmas. Needless to say, I've never had a Christmas hit that peak since. In high school, I did briefly fall out with gaming. At least what you'd call true gaming. I was busy playing sports, and by extension sports games, and only the most essential titles like Wii Sports? Look, I was busy and didn't have the time to play all the stuff that I earned my stripes on, like Crash Bandicoot 2 or Super Mario Sunshine. I finally revisited my gaming obsession proper right after I graduated. Wouldn't you know it, it was Sonic to pull me back in. Sonic Unleashed specifically, followed by Final Fantasy XIII and LA Noire. Honestly, that's not a bad trifecta of games to get a high schooler started on. Since then, I dove back into my hobby wholeheartedly. I picked up every system since, starting with revisiting the PS3 catalog because I missed out on 6 years of that. I even had a heavy PS Vita phase where I became a Persona fan and a general enjoyer of JRPGs. But the biggest boost to relearning to love games was that I had all my old stuff. I could just as easily play Valkyria Chronicles on PS3 as I could pop in Kirby 64 or Sonic Shuffle. Honestly, that's still the case today. I have all my old stuff. Maybe I'm even worse off since diving into the world of making backups of my games. I'd wager I have about 65% of my collection available to me to play on a variety of devices. Lately though, I haven't been buying mini games. During 2023 and 2024, I sort of went all out. I set out to beef up my retro collection with games I had missed out on growing up. A huge part of that was the GameCube. Outside of staples like Smash Bros. Or Wind Waker, I didn't have too many GameCube games growing up. I had 10 to be exact, but in those 2 years, I added 17 to my collection. And believe me, they weren't cheap. In recent years, a lot of people have had a similar impulse to buy games. Maybe they missed out on them growing up, or maybe they just want to own for the sake of owning. Maybe they're one of those dastardly COVID-era collectors. Whatever the reason, the onslaught of collectors made prices shoot up. Remember when you could find GameCube games in the bargain bin at Walmart? Nowadays, most games shops I visit don't even keep them on the store floor, instead having them locked in cases. Regardless, I went into buying GameCube games and other old titles with one eye on playing and one eye on preservation. On one hand, I wanted to play the things I missed out on. I wanted to see how closely Billy Hatcher plays to a Sonic game. Sorta, kinda? And whether Star Fox Assault was as good as Star Fox 64. Not really, but close. But at the same time, I wanted to preserve these games. Playing GameCube discs on legitimate, modern hardware is mostly out of the question without modding or upscalers for modern TV. What would happen to all the games I missed out on? Buying the titles I wanted ensured that I could not only have access to them in my physical collection, but ensure my access to them digitally for years to come. But that gets expensive, quick. Billy Hatcher ran me $50. Wario World without a manual was $90. I lucked out with grabbing Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog before the Sonic 3 movie dropped, which saved me a bit. But is it worth going broke just to ensure I can still play the games I want to play? Well, of course it's not. And a big part of me wants to go as far as trying to recoup some of that money by selling my games. Physical media takes up space, and with most everything accessible digitally, why do I need to sit on piles of plastic? I guess it's for the memories. See, for the most part, I can tell you where I was when I got most of my stuff in my collection. Like when I was flipping textbooks online to afford my entire PS Vita and PS3 collections. Or when me and my best friend went to a local game store and we bought 50-cent Bulletproof because one time we mainlined that game in a day together when we were 10. Or when my girlfriend and I picked up Star Fox Assault thinking it was Star Fox Adventures, which I stupidly sold to GameStop when I was 12. Every box art, every manual, every collectible has some place in my heart. Sure, I could take pictures, but there's no replacing loading up an original Xbox or waggling a Wiimote just for old time's sake.